Hello, and welcome to the CINCILINGUA membership live class. My name is Joe, and today we'll continue talking about restaurants and food, I guess because it's my favorite topic. Um, I hope you're doing well, and I thought it would be fun to use some of these questions for discussion. And if you want to respond to me or have a question, you can put it in the chat box. And I'll try to respond to those questions. The first thing in the discussion questions is it says role play with your teacher, order a meal for breakfast. I cannot hear you, so I'd just like to offer some suggestions on how to order a meal in a restaurant in the United States. If you're in a nice restaurant, not a fast food restaurant, after you look at the menu, something I would stress is we don't usually say, I want. That sounds a bit strong, a bit demanding. I want a cheeseburger. I want steak. It sounds more polite to say I'd like the steak, the T-bone steak. It just sounds nicer. And the waiter or waitress will ask you, how would you like that done? How would you like that done? And in the United States, your steak could be cooked so that it's well done, medium well, medium rare, or rare. So those are the options that we usually have when we order meat. So in a restaurant. So when the waiter asks, how would you like that done? You can say, medium, please, or medium well. And the waitress might ask for any side dishes that you would like. What would you like with that? What would you like with your steak? Another expression we use that doesn't translate well into other languages is I'll have. I'll have the rice and corn. I'll have a glass of water. Translated literally into other languages, it sounds like a funny way to say it, but that's what we say. In fact, in a more casual restaurant, the waiter or waitress may come to the table and say, what do you have? What do you have? If you're ordering dessert, for example, you can ask the waiter or waitress, what kind of desserts do you have? What kind of desserts do you have? I'd like the pecan pie, or I'm recording this in the fall, in November, so I'd like some pumpkin pie. What are your favorite foods to eat in a restaurant? I like a variety of foods. I'm not too adventurous, but I do like various types of food. I frequently go to Mexican restaurants, Thai from Thailand, Thai restaurants. They may ask you how hot you like your food on a scale of 1 to 10. I take a 3, and for many people that's hot, but Thai food can be very spicy, very hot. I enjoy Indian food, like tikka masala. But I think, and I really do enjoy all those kinds of food, but I think my favorite of all is Italian. And I think that's true for many people. They like Italian food. pasta, fettuccine Alfredo, lasagna, spaghetti, maybe with chicken parmesan. Or some people like seafood, and so they might get shrimp scampi, something like that. I like to call Italian food the ultimate comfort food. Comfort food makes you feel good when you eat it. It's kind of a classic of comedy that if a character is depressed, he or she will eat ice cream, a whole pint of ice cream, for example. That's comfort food. It makes you feel better. And for me, Italian food, just the smell of it, makes me feel good, makes me feel warm. In fact, when I was growing up in Cincinnati, my mother would often make Italian food. We're not Italian, but she learned from some relatives by marriage how to make Italian food. And my father liked German food, which was pretty common in Cincinnati. Sauerkraut, cottage ham. I didn't, it's not my favorite food, German food. Sauerkraut is made from cabbage and vinegar. So when I would come home from school and come in the door, I knew immediately who would be happy at dinner that night, me or my father. If I smelled the Italian sauce, the marinara sauce, I knew, oh, this is going to be wonderful. But if I smelled the sauerkraut, I knew that my father would be happy and I would be miserable. So what's your favorite food to order in a restaurant? I have certain dishes that are my favorite. For example, if I go to a Mexican restaurant, I like chicken with mole poblano. I already mentioned tikka masala in an Indian restaurant. And I like pad thai from Thai restaurants. If we talk about the typical American food or what comes from the United States, it's a little difficult. I'm not sure that we originated that much here. I could be wrong. Even hamburgers are supposed to come from Hamburg, Germany. So it's might just be the hot dog, the lowly hot dog. That's a Native American, native to the United States food. Another thing that I find interesting, and I mentioned in another video, is that lunch is very different in the United States from lunch in other countries. In so many countries, especially in Latin America, if you're from there, you know this. The main meal of the day is lunch. And in the United States, that's not true. We might eat a big lunch, but if we do, when we go back to work, the afternoon can be difficult. Our main meal is dinner, which we also call supper. So our dinner or supper tends to be bigger than our lunch in the United States, whereas it's the opposite in other countries. So many of my friends from other countries have lunch as the main meal, and then they just have something light, some fruit, or in Mexico, maybe some quesadillas or something, but for dinner, but something light. I learned this, you might say, the hard way. I used to take students to lunch who were from Latin America, and I had just automatically assumed we'd go get sandwiches because a sandwich with a lot of meat on it and cheese and lettuce and tomato for an American, a U.S. American, that's lunch, maybe with some chips or French fries. But I learned that our students had different expectations. They expected a big meal because in their countries, that was the most important meal. One thing I understand is that we in the United States don't like to eat a very big lunch because we have to go back to work immediately. But I know that in Latin America, people go home for lunch, perhaps from the office or the factory, and then take a rest in the middle of the day, which I think is a great idea. I think it's natural. I think we all should do that. That's my opinion. So maybe in some countries, the worker or the executive has an hour and a half for lunch. In the United States, we have 45 minutes, an hour. I've heard of places where the employees have half an hour for lunch. As much as I love pasta and sauces, different kinds of sauces, I know that if I eat that, I'm going to be trying to stay awake in the afternoon. The next question is, what is your favorite vegetable? This is a funny question for me because people think I'm exaggerating, but I don't like any vegetables. What about you? Do you like vegetables in general? Are you fine with eating vegetables out of a can, or do you prefer fresh vegetables? I've had the same conversation in my life hundreds of times. People ask me, what kind of vegetable do you like? And I say, I don't like any vegetables. And they say, not any? I say, no, not any. And they say, but they're good for you. And my response is always, I know they're good for me, but I don't like them. I can eat some fruit, apples, oranges, tangerines, but I'm afraid I live on junk food a lot of the time. Do you know what junk food is? Junk is another word for garbage in the United States. So junk food is food that's not good for you. Potato chips, pizza, different kinds of snack chips, cookies. We would call this junk food. And like many people in the United States, I'm afraid I eat a lot of it. But it's not good. You often don't have much energy after eating a lot of junk food. And it's good to eat vegetables. I know that. And maybe some protein like meat, chicken, fish. Yeah. So I don't have a favorite vegetable. Have you ever worked in a restaurant? Have you ever worked in a restaurant? I have. I've tried twice. When I was very young, I worked in a pizzeria in Cincinnati. Very popular, the most popular pizzeria. I washed the dishes. So I didn't get to enjoy the food. I just washed the dishes and had to move quickly because we had many customers. and the waitresses would be asking for clean forks and clean knives, and I would be going as fast as I could, trying to get those washed, get them through the machine. I think working in a restaurant is hard, in my opinion. You have to move quickly. Customers can be angry, not happy with their meal. What has your experience been? The reason that I leave a tip when I go to a restaurant, except a fast food restaurant, of course, like McDonald's, I leave a tip because I know it's hard to work in a restaurant. And I might say more about tipping in a few minutes, but I do leave a tip because I think that they have to work very hard in a restaurant. And if you could design a restaurant, what specific details would you include? I haven't really thought about that, but whatever the specific details, I would try to make it a cozy place, a nice and cozy place. Cozy means warm and comfortable, like sitting by a fire in the winter is cozy. I would like, if I designed a restaurant, to design one where people feel comfortable sitting and talking and enjoying their meal. One thing I would do is play soft music. I live near a university, and the restaurants tend to play loud, modern music, and everyone has different tastes in music, but for me, it's not a good way to enjoy a meal, listening to the loud music. I would like soft music, especially because when I go to dinner, it's usually with a friend, and I want to be able to talk to my friend and hear my friend. What about you? What kind of atmosphere, environment would you prefer in a restaurant? And if you could design a restaurant, what specific details would you include? And if we talk about tipping, that's something I wanted to mention. We talk about the tipping culture in the United States. A tip is expected. A lot of our students are surprised when they come from other countries because they either the tip is included in the meal in other countries, or you only give it if the service is good. And of course, that's the idea of a tip. But in this country, people, waiters, waitresses, they expect a tip, even if the service wasn't good. As it says here, 15% to 20% of your bill is a standard tip when service is good. I like to leave 20% because, as I said, I respect that restaurant workers work very hard and they don't receive the minimum wage all the time. They depend on tips. But the tipping culture in the US has gone a lot further than that. As you know, if you've traveled in the United States and stayed in hotels or gotten your hair cut, you're supposed to tip everybody. And in some restaurants where I've been lately, when I go to pay, it's on a computer screen, and the first thing I have to do is enter the tip amount in order to proceed to pay my bill. So right now in the United States, we're talking about the aggressive tipping culture. People expect a tip, not only in waiters and waitresses, but people who cut your hair. Uber drivers expect a tip. Taxi drivers have traditionally expected tips. And one time a taxi driver was angry with me because I just gave him $5. It's all I had to give him as a tip. And he said, all the way from downtown and you just give me $5? It's become such an expectation in the United States that some workers, as I said, waiters, taxi drivers, have become a little aggressive about it. In fact, I ordered a meal recently to be brought to my apartment. And I said to the delivery person, do I need to sign? And his response was, how much will you leave for the tip? That really happened. So I was a little upset and called the restaurant and complained. So in my opinion, the tipping culture in the United States is a little overboard. It's a little too much. And I hope that because people are getting angry about it, that there will be some change about this. So I'd like to go to this other set of discussion questions. And some of this we already talked about, like the tip. But we start off this section by talking about fast food restaurants. In whatever country you're from, I'm sure you have fast food restaurants because there's a McDonald's in every country. I don't know if that's literally true, but they seem to be everywhere. Do you have a favorite fast food restaurant? In the United States, those would be restaurants like McDonald's, Burger King, Arby's. You go in, order at the counter, and get your food very quickly, and you don't leave a tip. Although now they might have a jar on the counter saying tips are appreciated or something like that. In your country, is the tip part of the price of the meal, or do you have to give extra money? Or if you're not happy, are you comfortable not leaving a tip? To tell the truth, I have had experiences in restaurants where I was not happy. The service was bad, but I still left a tip because it's expected no matter what, even if the service is bad. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. What is the strangest thing that has happened to you at a restaurant? I thought about this question and I really don't remember too many things that have happened that have been strange. I had difficulty, but maybe you've had a strange experience in a restaurant. What happens if you are late for a reservation at a restaurant? In the United States, at many restaurants, if you're late for your reservation, you lose the reservation. You can't have your meal, or you have to wait until a table is available. What about in your country? Is it important to be on time for a reservation at a restaurant? What would you say if your food is burnt? If it's cooked too much and it's black on the outside, it's burnt. Would you complain or would you just eat it? Are you comfortable making complaints in a restaurant? I'm a little more comfortable than I used to be when I was younger. Now that I'm older, I will tell the waiter or waitress, this isn't right. Um, I ordered this, not that. But most of the time, I just eat what they bring. If it's what I ordered. Uh, but if your food is burnt, what would you say? You can be polite and say, "Excuse me," to the waiter or waitress. "I'm afraid my food is overcooked. My steak is overdone." "I'm afraid" here is a polite way to say, "I'm sorry to tell you, but um, I'm afraid this um, milk is sour. I'm afraid uh, the vegetables aren't cooked enough." You can be polite, and it's usually not the waiter or waitress's fault, but what do you do in your country if you're not happy with your food? And what about you personally? Are you comfortable complaining or not comfortable? Do you go to fast food restaurants very much? Um, I did when I was younger, but I don't like to go to fast food restaurants now. I want to sit down and have a nice meal. Um, I don't like fast food very much. But years ago, that's where I would take students for lunch, students who came from Latin America, and I eventually understood why they were upset, because that's not what they eat in Latin America. It may not be what you eat in your country for lunch. There are a few fast food restaurants that I like, and I really like cheeseburgers, which you can get at fast food restaurants or nice restaurants even. You can get a very good cheeseburger. Um, do you eat French fries? French fries are not the best thing for you to eat. They're not the healthiest. They're cooked in grease. They have a lot of salt. We make a joke in the United States. It's a heart attack waiting to happen. So, um, is it possible to eat a healthy meal at a fast food restaurant? If you're trying to lose weight, should you even go in a fast food restaurant? It might be a lot of temptation. As I said, they're not my favorite, but a good cheeseburger from wherever is fine with me. Um, it's not exactly a fast food restaurant, but one other place that's so popular now is Starbucks. Well, it has been for many years. And that's another business like McDonald's that seems to appear in every country, on every corner. Do you have them in your country? Starbucks for coffee? If you do you like to go in and buy some coffee and sit and talk with a friend or read the newspaper or look at your computer? Um, I think that in some ways, the US culture has been spreading and spreading in other countries, including in the way people eat. Um, Maybe people in some countries aren't eating as much of their traditional food and are eating fast food like a McDonald's hamburger more frequently. I don't think that's so great, but it depends on what you like. So when you're finished eating in a restaurant uh, and you want to pay, you ask for the check. The check is the bill, but for some reason, we don't say the bill. when we talk about the restaurant, the charge for the food in the restaurant, we say the check, just like you write a check, but we use the word in restaurants. And the polite way is to say to the waiter or waitress, could I have the check, please? Or I'm ready for the check, please. And the waiter or waitress will bring your check, and you can write in the amount of the tip if you want. Like I said, it's strongly expected in the United States that you leave a tip. How much are you willing to spend on dinner, a good dinner, and how often? Do you go frequently every week to eat dinner in a nice restaurant? Or do you go rarely and prefer to eat at home? Are you a good cook, or is someone in your house a good cook and you prefer their food? Well, this was some more conversation about restaurants and about food. I complained about the tipping culture in our country. So I hope you enjoyed it and that it's been valuable for listening practice. And thank you for joining us for this CINCILINGUA membership live lesson. And have a good day.